I'm State Representative Russ Hunter. I represent the 48th Legislative District, which is parts of Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland, a teeny little bit of Issaquah, and all of the Points communities. Last year was, I described at the end of the session as bittersweet. We have a horrendous budget disaster last year where we solved a $9 billion budget deficit. We didn't raise new taxes. So we used some money from the federal government, we shifted some money around from other accounts, and we made $3 to $4 billion worth of program cuts. So we're going to deal with about a $2.8 billion budget problem this year. We'll probably have to make some cuts. I'm unwilling to make the level of cuts that the governor proposed in her budget in December. I'm unwilling to cut our significant cuts in our investment in early childhood learning for at-risk kids. These are kids that make families that make less than the federal poverty level, in many cases less than $10,000 a year for a family of 3 or 4. Those kids need the extra help in school before they arrive in kindergarten so that they're competitive. So we're here at the Zoka Coffee Shop in Kirkland, a great place. And I'm here to talk to Joel about early learning today and why it's so important in Washington.
Oh, thanks for inviting me here.
My pleasure.
Absolutely. And so I'm Joel Ryan. I'm the executive director of the Head Start ECEAP Association. I'm also a member of the Kirkland community.
One of the things that's at risk in the governor's budget proposal that she made last month was 1,500 slots in what's our ECEAP program. What's that?
Yeah, the ECEAP program is the state's Head Start program. It's called the Early Childhood Education and Assistance Program. What it does is its main job is to get at-risk kids ready for school. And it does a terrific job of doing that. An at-risk kid is a kid that has several factors, primarily income. Most of the families that are in ECEAP are families that make less than $10,000 a year. There are multiple and hundreds of actually homeless families that are a part of ECEAP. There are children that are part of the foster care system. Many families who have faced domestic violence and abuse, and extremely poor and not really ready for school.
So if you work full-time at minimum wage, you make more than $10,000
That's
a year,
right.
right?
Absolutely.
So these are people who are really struggling.
Absolutely.
And these are kids who start out with 2 strikes against them. Can you talk a little bit about what some of the outcomes we see 20, 30, even 40 years later for kids who had high-quality child care, who were in a situation where they really needed it?
Yeah, I mean, there's been several studies, including the Perry Preschool study, that demonstrate that children that are at risk that go to a high-quality program like ECEAP are less likely to need special education when they're in school. They're more likely to graduate from high school. They're even more likely to graduate from college and have better jobs. But one of the big cost savings...
Twice as likely. There's some really large
absolutely.
number.
It's 2 to 3 times as likely. The other big thing is they're less likely to get involved in the criminal justice system, which means that there are major cost savings in terms of crime prevention, in terms of benefits for kids that have been through the ECEAP program and programs like ECEAP. So the savings are phenomenal. The other thing is that parents that have kids in the program, those parents are less likely to utilize public assistance. That means instead of being a tax eater, they're actually paying taxes. So it's an incredible investment all around. The program helps them find employment, get them the skills and training they need, and gets them off of the system, and then breaks the cycle for that child as well by getting them ready for school and all the other benefits that we talked about.
So that child then goes to school earlier, is in a family where people are working, so there's this expectation that that's what they'll do.
Absolutely.
And we have a lot of statistical data that shows that that really works.
We have iron-tight data.
Iron-tight. This is one of the few places in social science where we really know that this matters.
Because of the economic downturn, there are 3,200 kids on active waiting lists.
Wow.
Looking for services. That's a 50% jump in the past year. It's record highs right now. And so there are many people who never would have thought that they would have been eligible or needed services like ECEAP are finding themselves looking for that service, and they can't have it right now because we just do not have the money to even cover the kids that are eligible.
And they sure wouldn't have it if we cut 25% of the program.
We can save public education funding, and particularly as you identified special ed, if we invest in early learning. Because every child that goes through a high quality program like ECEAP each one of those children are less likely to need special ed services.
Right, and so this is not a 30 years from now, this 3-year-old is not going to be in jail at $30,000 a year. This is 2 years from now, this kid's not going to be in special ed in kindergarten.
That's right, and they're also more likely not to have to repeat a grade.
Okay.
So you can think of all the costs and all the intervention, all the literacy services, all the things, and that's why this early learning really does need to be part of the definition of basic education. It's got to be a public education funded program.
These kids will have a very hard time taking advantage of our basic ed investment if they don't have this preparation program beforehand.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right.
Thank you.
Thank you.